Stop scrolling. If room-filling, spine-tingling sound matters to you, this list will save you time, money, and buyer's remorse. Today's countdown ranks the best floor-standing speakers from 7 to 1, testing for clarity, bass extension, dynamics, and day-to-day usability, so you know exactly which tower fits your space, your amp, and your taste. Watch for the open loop. There's a surprising number 1 that punches far above its footprint. And the stories behind why it outshines bigger boxes will help you tune your own setup for instant upgrades. 7. GOgroove Bluetooth Tower Speaker. For a living room that doubles as a casual listening space and party zone, the GOgroove BlueSync STW is a fun, all-in-one tower with Bluetooth, USB, aux, and even FM baked in, so it's basically a stereo system in a single column. The built-in subwoofer gives it that instant low-end warmth at conversational volumes. And the 120W peak power spec is enough for movie night without needing a receiver or external DAC. It's compact for a tower, and the setup takes minutes. Pair, play, and you're done. After living with it in a medium-sized room, the appeal is obvious. Convenient connectivity meets family-friendly operation. The Bluetooth range around 10 meters is stable, and hopping to a USB drive playlist is seamless for background music. For dorms, bedrooms, or a secondary lounge, it hits the easy listening sweet spot without a rack of gear and cables. Tonally, it leans toward a consumer-friendly V-curve, a bit of sparkle up top with a bass lift that flatters pop, EDM, and YouTube content, especially at lower volumes. That voicing works well for casual viewing and radio, and it beats many plastic party speakers by offering a tower-sized cabinet that helps the bass feel less boomy at sofa distance. As the volume climbs, you can feel the limitations. The 2.1 layout and cabinet bracing don't have the refinement of true hi-fi towers, so mid-range detail can smear, and the low end gets a little woolly when pushed. 6. Sony SSCS3. Sony's is a bona fide entry into classic hi-fi tower territory, a 3-way, 4-driver system with dual 5.12-inch woofers, a 1-inch tweeter, and a super tweeter for extended highs up to 50 kHz. On paper, that ultra-wide top end and the 3-way architecture promise clear separation, and in everyday use, the SSCS3 can sound lively with crisp treble and decent spaciousness for the price. The slim cabinet is apartment-friendly, and at 11.5 kilograms, it's easy to position. Set up with a modest amp, the SSCS3 delivers a big wall of sound feel, with forward presence that works for rock and podcasts alike. Dialogue intelligibility is good, and at moderate volumes, the bass reflex design keeps the low end engaging without a sub. For budget home theater stacks, a pair flanking a screen can be an instant upgrade over TV speakers. The highs are the headline. Sony's Super Tweeter brings shimmer to cymbals and air to strings, projecting a wide, energetic soundstage with well-recorded acoustic tracks. The speaker can surprise by pulling room ambience and reverb tails out of the mix in a way small bookshelves can't at this price. But the mid-range can be a mixed bag. Measurements and critical listening have flagged resonances and a somewhat uneven midband that can harden with bright electronics. And on dense mixes, the dual woofers prioritize punch over refinement. It's a speaker that shines on axis with certain genres, but benefits from careful toe-in and a warm amp to tame glare. 5. Dayton Audio Classic T65. The T65 is Dayton Audio doing what it does best, value engineering with the right bits in the right places. Dual 6.5-inch polywoofers and a 1-inch silk dome tweeter in a ported 2-way cabinet create a relaxed, easy-to-listen-to signature that keeps fatigue low and musicality high. With 80W RMS 150W max handling, 6 ohm impedance, and 87 dB sensitivity. It's happy with a mid-tier AVR, yet scales with a more robust stereo amp. In-room, the T65's bass is the pleasant surprise. For a budget tower just over 39 inches tall, it reaches convincingly low for movies and modern pop, with enough weight that a sub becomes optional in smaller spaces. The silk dome tweeter keeps trebles sweet, helping poorly recorded streams remain listenable without sandpaper highs. What stands out over weeks of play is coherence. The crossover is voiced to keep the handoff clean around 3 kHz, so vocals sit naturally. and the tonal balance doesn't collapse when you move off axis. That makes the T65 forgiving in real living rooms where perfect symmetry is a fantasy. Spec-wise, the 35-20,000 Hz frequency window, 6 ohm load, and manageable cabinet dimensions make it a practical daily driver. It's not a detail monster. It projects a wide soundstage and handles home theater effects without smearing pans across the front wall, which is rare at the price. If you want a grown-up sound on a starter budget, the T65 nails the brief. Calm treble, generous bass for the size, and honest mid-range presence that flatters voices. It's the kind of tower you buy now and keep happily, even after upgrading electronics later. 4. Polk Signature Elite ES60. Polk's ES60 steps up with a high-res certified 1-inch Terraline tweeter and triple 6.5-inch dynamic balance woofers, backed by the power port for smoother, deeper bass. Sensitivity around 90 dB with an 8 ohm nominal impedance means it wakes up easily on mainstream receivers while scaling with cleaner watts. The cabinet is braced MDF and built to reduce resonance, and the bi-amp inputs give tinkerers room to play. In practice, ES60's bass system is its party trick. PowerPort's airflow smoothing cuts port chuff, translating to tighter, louder bass that feels more musical than bloated, great for cinematic LFE effects and kick drum definition. Rated response down to about 32 Hz gives genuine low-end presence in medium and larger rooms. The tweeter has that crystalline energy Polk touts, giving hi-hat transients and string harmonics real sparkle without etching. With high-res sources, the top end stays open, and imaging is stable, center vocals lock in, and depth layering is convincing for the class. Living with ES60 reveals a speaker that's easy to recommend. It's forgiving enough for compressed streams, yet resolving enough to reward lossless playback. It's also versatile. Music, movies, gaming all benefit from the dynamic headroom and solid off-axis behavior. If you want a one-and-done tower for a mixed-use living room, ES60 brings bass authority, treble finesse, and setup flexibility that makes it a perennial best value in its bracket. 3. Klipsch Reference Premier RP8000F2. The RP8000F is thrill machine. Dual 8-inch cerametallic woofers plus a 1-inch titanium LTS tweeter on the Tractrix horn produce explosive dynamics and live venue realism. With a rated 98 dB sensitivity and 35 to 25 kHz bandwidth, it gets loud on little power and stays composed, making it perfect for big rooms or listeners who love concert levels. In listening rooms, the horn's controlled directivity focuses energy where you want it, so clarity and impact are protected from room reflections. The result is snare hits with startling crack, guitars that leap into space, and dialogue that cuts through complex mixes without strain. If you've ever wanted cinema punch at home, this tower delivers. The bass reflex system with dual rear Tractrix ports lets those 8-inch drivers dig deep with speed. Bass lines have texture, not just thump. With the right placement and a couple feet of breathing room, the low end snaps and stops on a dime, enhancing rhythmic drive. There's finesse too. The latest horn geometry smooths treble, taming the bite earlier Klipsch designs were known for. Pair it with a neutral or slightly warm amplifier, and you're rewarded with detail retrieval that makes live albums addictive, revealing room cues and crowd ambience. If dynamics and efficiency sit at the top of your checklist, RP8000F2 is a category leader, big, bold, and surprisingly nuanced when properly matched and positioned. 2. SVS Prime Pinnacle. SVS's Prime Pinnacle is a masterclass in balancing bass depth, mid-range purity, and top-end air. The driver stack, 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter, 5.25-inch dedicated mid-range, and 3 individually tuned 6.5-inch woofers, creates far above price imaging with line array-like bass control. A rated 29 to 25 kHz response proves out in-room with sub-30 Hz presence that's articulate, not muddy. The genius is the triple-chamber, triple-port architecture. Each woofer has its own enclosure and tuning, so bass stays smooth and fast as volume rises. Movie scores rumble convincingly, but upright bass and kick drums maintain attack and decay without smearing into the lower mids. rare below true high-end pricing. Mid-range is where Pinnacle really earns its name. The sealed mid-enclosure and sound-match three-way crossover let vocals float cleanly, with precisely drawn edges and stable placement even as you move off-axis. It's easy to hear backing vocal layers and guitar pedal textures that lesser towers blur. At 88 dB sensitivity and 8 ohms, it's not the most efficient, but it rewards clean power with effortless scaling. Feed it 100 to 200 watts of quality amplification, and the soundstage expands, dynamics snap harder, and treble opens up without glare. An audiophile presentation married to home theater brawn. If you want a single tower that can be the anchor for both a serious 2-channel rig and a reference-grade 5.1 system, Prime Pinnacle sits in the Goldilocks zone, deep, detailed, and dynamically convincing. PMC Prodigy 5. The shocker at number 1 isn't a giant box, it's PMC's compact Prodigy 5, a transmission line floor stander that proves design trumps size. Using a 27mm soft dome tweeter and a 133mm long throw mid-bass driver, feeding a 1.96-meter advanced transmission line with twin laminar vents, it reaches a claimed 35 to 25 kHz with bass that sounds like a second woofer just joined the party. Yet each speaker weighs only 10 kilograms and slots into rooms where big towers won't. Set up on modest power, it's immediately evident why PMC's studio DNA matters. Timing, transient precision, and low distortion locked together, so grooves feel propulsive and vocals breathe naturally. The ATL's consistent back pressure control reduces bass compression and cabinet talk, so you get clean extension without port bloom. The soundstage is holographic for the footprint. Off-axis tonal balance stays intact thanks to the low 1.7 kHz crossover that aligns dispersion between the drivers, so reflected energy matches on-axis timbre. That means imaging doesn't collapse when you sit with friends or move around the room. Music stays believable and three-dimensional. Bass quality is the differentiator. Where reflex designs can overhang, Prodigy 5 snaps back with pitch definition. Electric bass runs are easy to follow. And floor toms have the skin and air character usually reserved for larger, pricier speakers. At the same time, the treble remains sweet and extended, avoiding fatigue over long sessions. Final thought. That's all for today, folks.